All right, guys, so we do have some pretty crazy news. As you guys know, the Steven Crowder Sam Seder saga has been pretty lengthy now. Cold Feet Crowder, Steven Crowder ducking a debate with him at Politicon. And if you guys recall, I actually did a video on this a couple weeks ago. Ethan Klein of H3H3 on his podcast, his producer talked about Steven Crowder. Ethan and Steven Crowder are having their own beef right now. And that guy, his name is Dan, basically told Steven Crowder to stop being a wuss and stop backing out of a debate with Sam Seder. Steven Crowder and Ethan Klein have their own beef. And what ended up happening was, and I'm going to show you the clip from Sam Seder on today's live show where he explains this. But it was like a week ago or two ago, as he explains, and I'll show you the video. And what Sam is saying is, Ethan scheduled a debate with Steven Crowder, but Steven Crowder backed out saying there was an emergency because Sam Seder was apparently in the Zoom call, or he was worried about him joining in. He says it was an emergency. His dad actually said it was an emergency and something to do with his wife's pregnancy or something like that. Had to go. It was an emergency. And then they scheduled it a week later at the time that Sam Seder actually starts his live stream. And then I guess Sam Seder he had to like kind of stealthily go on there because Steven Crowder was pretty closely monitoring what Sam was doing in anticipation of Sam Seder joining the call. So I do want to show you guys the clip from the Majority Report where Sam explains this.
On vacation, we will pre-tape. Let me read this IM to enter into some explanations for you, because I think some explanations are due you, the audience. This is an IM that we got almost at the beginning of the show. And it's from a guy named Chowder with Crowder, which is fortuitous. Stream resolution kind of fucked up, Sam. You're being squished horizontally, but only the camera feed logo appears normal. And that is correct. That was a correct assessment of what was going on. And the question was, why?
Well, it was to make you look skinnier. And me, incidentally.
That is one of the answers. The other answer, I should also say, has to do with, you will look at my Zoom feed today, and you will notice that my name, you got Emma Vigeland there in the right-hand corner of your, the left-hand corner of your frame. But for me today, I don't have Sam Seder. I have a smiley face. All of these things have to do with each other. Everything, in fact, that we have talked about since the beginning of the show, including the IM, has to do with each other. Let's go back a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. Maybe it was 4 weeks ago. I can't remember. I got an IM. I got tweeted at. Sam, you got name checked on H3. And I was like, H3? I think that's it's a big YouTube show, but I was like, what? What?
Yeah.
And so I went to check it out, and it is hosted by this guy Ethan Klein, who I may know some people who know him in the comedy world. He's out in LA, but and he looked familiar to me. But that's probably because he looks like family members or whatever. And I was like, what's this about? And it turns out they were talking about Steven Crowder. And Steven Crowder and Ethan were having some type of like back and forth. And I didn't know the details of it at the time, but their producer, Dan, at the end of the segment, turns to the camera and says, this is the only time I'm going to have to address Crowder, because I know he's going to watch this. And I remember thinking like, well, yeah, this is a big, big channel, I guess. But I mean, is Crowder really that thin-skinned that he's going to tune in to every time his name is mentioned on a show? I mean, anyways, Dan looks at the camera and says, hey, debate Sam Seder. And he goes on about telling the story about the Politicon. Folks can go back and look for the video that we did when I played the audio of the Politicon booker calling me and telling me the Crowder had dropped out. And
cold feet, in fact.
He said that was her words, yeah, that he got cold feet because his team pulled him out, and his team is his dad, apparently. And I had also been invited on the Gavin McInnes show. I didn't want to go on there, but they offered up, like, we got Crowder to debate, and then Gavin wrote me back and said, no, Crowder's doesn't want to debate you, whatever. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And so that's why Dan had said this. And I thought, oh, that's great. We played the clip of it. That was really nice to get that shout out.
Big podcast, big show.
Big show, big podcast. And then I get a DM from Ethan, like a week later or something like that. And he says, hey, Steven Crowder wants to debate me. And he's like, I don't do a political show. He's like, I think you should come on and debate him as I'm, on with him. And I was like, I would love to do that. Thank you. And so last week, you'll recall, last Monday, they were scheduled to have a debate at 1 p.m. Eastern, which is 10 a.m., I think it was Pacific. And so you'll recall last week we started the show early. And here is where I need to make an apology to the audience. I implied that the reason why we were doing that was because I was recording the Bob's Burgers movie.
I would not say you implied it. In fact, you tweeted about it later. So
well, if you look at that tweet,
lie.
If you look at that tweet, Emma, I did not say.
Oh, the lawyering, Jesus.
Well, if you look at the tweet, bring it up. Can we bring this up, Brendan? Can you find it? On that tweet, I did not say I ended the show early because I am recording Hugo for Bob's Burgers for the movie. Instead, I tweeted, and Brendan, do you have this? Okay. It is, I tweeted, let me see if I can pull it up here on my own. I tweeted instead, sorry about the show being early, ending the show early today. However, the good news is I can tell you that I recorded that Hugo's on Bob's Burgers. Now, all of that is true. Yeah, here it is. Apologies for the early start today for Majority.fm. ... Second thought, happens to be unrelated.
Yeah.
But was in the same tweet. I can, however, happily report that Hugo will make a cameo in the Bob's Burgers movie. Now, the fact is that no, I had recorded that a couple days earlier.
What?
But why, Sam, would you tweet that? Well, we started the show early. We ended at 12:30 p.m., which was 30 minutes before the debate that
11
Crowder,
to 12:30.
Yeah,
if you guys remember
that Crowder had planned with Ethan Klein on H3, and so we connect with H3 through Zoom, and like immediately after we're done with the show, and then 4 or 5 minutes later, they go, oh, we just got an email from Crowder's dad that Steven had an emergency with his wife who's pregnant. And this is actually sort of disturbing.
We were concerned.
We were concerned. And I'm being serious about that, actually. And he can't do it. However, we will reschedule for next Monday at noon. And Ethan says they knew that you were getting off your show early, and they're afraid that you're going to be debating him. And I got to say that I was like,
come on, Ethan.
I don't think I said that to him because I was like, I didn't want to be, rude, but I was like, I'm not sure about that. Like, would he really pretend that his wife, who's pregnant with 2 kids, is in jeopardy? And would he really be monitoring when our show is off the air? That's absurd. That's absurd that he would do that. I mean, how afraid would he have to be? How paranoid would he have to be that he's engaged with a debate with somebody else? Like, I'm just trying to put my mind in the same mind frame. Like, I've got a debate scheduled with Tim Pool, and I'm like, I'm going to monitor the show of Dave Rubin to see that he hasn't changed his live show, because what if Dave Rubin comes on when I thought I was going to debate Tim Pool?
I mean, that would probably be like the equivalent of Christmas for you.
That would be, yeah.
Or Hanukkah.
It would actually, I think it's actually, there's no
equivalent.
There is no equivalent. It would be
A birth of another child.
But I'm trying to put my head into that mind. Like, how afraid would I have to be that paranoid about it? And so I found it really hard to believe. But it was weird that, hey, we have an emergency. I mean, this is the grandfather of those kids. If I was that guy, I would be like, look, we have an emergency, can't get back to you. I wouldn't give the details, because why would I? And I'm like, it's an emergency, and I'll get back to you later in the week to reschedule. But no, they reschedule it for 12 p.m. on Monday, Eastern, which is exactly when we go live.
That's so weird.
But I told this to other friends, friends who are not in this world. And they're like, dude, do you think that he's really that afraid of just like debating you? Like, it's not in person. It's not like you're some type of assassin. I said, even if I was, he carries a gun. He has a holster that he wears all the time with a gun.
It's his costume.
Yeah. I mean, his costume is ready to defend himself too.
Normalizing it, yeah.
But I was like, but Ethan thought that, and he's a pretty savvy guy when it comes to like YouTube stuff and these guys.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, let's pre-tape the show. And I pre-taped the interview last week with Stephen Wertheim. Great interview.
Yeah. That's why I had to step out.
Yeah. Well, if people watched the show today, they noticed also that we were stretched. And that is because we're back in the studio and we haven't quite set up our system to do the show and to output it. And so we were just like, oh, fuck it. Let's just run it. And so we pre-recorded the intro and the outro to make it for today at like 10:30.
You coordinated your shirts very effectively.
And Emma kept reminding me, and that's why I was like surprised.
I was like,
Emma
make sure you wear this.
So yeah, as you guys can see there, man, this runs pretty deep here. This is a very thick plot with a bunch of different layers of stuff going on here. The main thing you can see is that Steven Crowder is dodging Sam Seder with literally every fiber of his being. If this is true, which it sounds like it is true, that he made up the emergency about his pregnant wife, that's like one of the most embarrassing things I've ever heard in my entire life. And you rescheduled the debate for a week later, at the exact time where Sam Seder goes live. Because the thing is, I think Steven Crowder knew this was going to happen, because of the fact that Ethan's producer mentioned the Cold Feet Crowder stuff, and the fact that Ethan Klein is not a political debater. That's just not what he does. So I think he was like, okay, he's going to bring on Sam Seder to debate because this just doesn't really add up. It doesn't really make sense. So this is like new levels of bitch. Like, this is new levels of being just the biggest, just pussy on the entire planet, where you're just... This is sad, man. This guy is running for his life. He's making excuses about his wife having a emergency, like his dad is the one saying it. This is really embarrassing, man. This is very, very embarrassing. And so Sam Seder, it appears, did have a debate with Steven Crowder. As you can see here, this is like video footage of them two together. We're not actually going to get to see the video until I think tomorrow. I think it's being premiered tonight, or if it's not tonight, it's tomorrow. But as you can see, they definitely did get on there. Sam Seder was trying to tease people by explaining that there are lots of possible outcomes. There could have been a debate. Maybe Steven Crowder ran. We don't really know exactly what happened. But Steven Crowder in this video, which I'll also show you, he's trying to basically paint himself as the victim and paint Ethan Klein as a coward kind of guy. But obviously it's Steven Crowder who's the coward. Obviously Ethan is not like some political debater, whereas Sam Seder is, and he's running from him. And Steven Crowder was sending out some pretty bizarre tweets. Like, he sent out a tweet saying 978D chess. When people say like 3D chess, it means you're just like on another level, bro. You're just on another level. There's too many levels of this for you, bro. Too many levels. He's saying 978 dimension chess. His dad is making up excuses for him to dodge debates with Sam Seder. This is super, super embarrassing, man. This is like one of the most embarrassing things in politics I've ever seen in my life. He's literally monitoring everything Sam Seder is doing to make sure that he's not going to jump on the debate call. Because he wants to debate like a YouTube comedian. Meanwhile, he's running from Sam Seder. This is truly remarkable stuff, man. The level of embarrassment this reaches is crazy. I am interested to see the full video that, hopefully Ethan Klein will drop. I'm definitely excited to watch it and see it. Steven Crowder, man, really, really getting some pretty hefty cold feet here, man. But this is some fresh news, hot off the presses for you guys. I know a lot of you guys are going to be interested in this.